Welcome to all the folks who are here from Rapid Response and the Steelworkers. So glad that you have joined Good Job, Green Jobs. For those of you who don't know, the Steelworkers Rapid Response is the activist network, and they have for the past, I think, 4 years held their conference in conjunction with Good Job, Green Jobs so that they can spend some time talking about how, as the steelworkers, they can take action and get educated, but then also building this alliance, building this work with all of us. And so it's great to have you here, and we'll see you also tomorrow. I do want to remind you that at 6 o'clock we do the reception. It's one floor above us at the Ambassador Ballroom, and hope you will join us for some food and music. And third floor, don't listen to me, go downstairs. But it's going to be really great. Somewhere, just keep going in these circles. It's a fun hotel, though. Anyways, we'll talk about that later. We are very privileged today to welcome our next keynote speaker, which is Gary Guzy. He is one of President Obama's top environmental advisors. We know that this administration has moved America forward on so many issues, including improving the fuel economy standards, introducing and moving forward protections for our air, our water, and our soil, and leading the way to spurring domestic, clean energy manufacturing. And Gary Guzy serves as the Deputy Director and General Counsel for the White House Council on Environmental Quality, or CEQ, as some people know it as. And he brings 25 years of experience in business, government, and academia to the job. Before he joined CEQ, he worked for APX Inc., which is a leading infrastructure provider for environmental and energy markets. And he was also an adjunct professor of environmental law at the Georgetown University Law Center, where he taught the first ever course on climate change law. So we are so privileged and glad to have you join us. Please join me in welcoming Gary Guzy.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is great to be here. It is great to be in Detroit. And congratulations to the BlueGreen Alliance for this gathering and this conversation. And when I say this conversation, I mean not just this conference, which is really striking in the breadth of considerations, the breadth of activities, and really the illustration of the impact of your work. But I mean this conversation that you've really created over time in bringing these organizations together to provide solutions to some of the greatest challenges that we as a society face. And your work in doing that, in finding common ground, is enormously important and enormously valued, and certainly valued by those of us who do this work in the administration. You know, you're talking about transportation, you're talking about housing, you're talking about energy, and you're laying the groundwork for the future of America. You know, last time I was in Detroit was for the opening of the North American International Auto Show. And that day there were 27 new product introductions. I mean, it was an absolutely striking display of innovation and ingenuity, and really the promise of American technology, the promise of American manufacturing, and the great work that can be done. And you know, the striking thing about that show, and there are many, you know, really interesting pieces of it, but the striking thing was the scale of the innovation, how so much of it was focused on efficiency and the inflection point where technology finds itself today, and the transition really to advanced vehicles and advanced fleets. And the other striking piece of it was that for all of the participants from around the world who came to Detroit, there was a nod and an acknowledgement and a recognition of U.S. leadership. And that is so important and so vital, and I think something that we all can take enormous pride in. Now, the work that you are doing and the work that the administration's doing is at really the heart of those efforts. The President, in his State of the Union, laid out a blueprint for an American economy that's built to last, one that's built on manufacturing, on skills for American workers, and on a renewal of American values. And central to that from the start of this administration, has been the President's vision of a clean energy transformation and American clean energy and renewable energy. The President has said the choice we face in whether we make this transformation, he said this on the first Earth Day he was in office, is not a choice about energy and the environment versus jobs. It's a choice between prosperity and decline. And we can continue to import petroleum from around the world, or we can export U.S. leadership and U.S. jobs and U.S. innovation. And he said, America can be that nation, America must be that nation. And that's been at the heart of his commitment and of his desire and efforts to create a renewable, a sustainable economic recovery, one that's built to last. So the President laid out a blueprint for American energy security. And part of that is his belief that everyone in our country deserves a fair shot, everyone should do their fair share, and everyone should play by the same set of rules, and that a recognition that the circumstances we find ourselves in are a make or break moment for America's middle class and those who are working so hard to reach it. And really what's at stake in this is the basic American promise that if you work hard, you can do well enough to raise a family, own a home, put a little away for retirement, and help to create a better life for your children. So a key part of this is clean energy. And a key part of this is finding ways that help promote our environment, jobs, our security. For industries like wind, solar, advanced batteries, it's critical that we continue to invest and that we don't cede our leadership to countries like China and Germany, because we need these jobs and we need these industries here. We need them in America, we need them in Detroit. So the plan that the President has is really an all-of-the-above approach, which doubles down on homegrown, on alternative energy sources, designed and produced by American workers. We recently released at the White House last month a progress report on the President's blueprint for a secure energy future. And if you haven't seen it, I strongly commend it. And it shows that since the start of the administration, our dependence on foreign oil has gone down every single year. And in 2010, it fell below 50% for the first time in 13 years. In 2011, it fell to 45%. And it's at the lowest level it's been since 1995, and that's enormously significant and important progress. Now, in doing this all-of-the-above approach, where we work to reduce our reliance on foreign oil, we also are working to, on the efficiency side, to save family and businesses money at the pump and to continue to position us as the leader in clean energy. Now, on the production side, oil production in the U.S. is at an 8-year high. And we continue to develop our oil and gas resources, but to do it in a way that is responsible. We also know that we need to develop clean energy and industries for the 21st century and make these investments in wind and solar and in new jobs. So starting with the Recovery Act, the President committed to and made a $90 billion investment in these kinds of renewable energy, in innovation, in the development of wind and solar, and in the creation of hundreds of thousands of jobs. And these have put us on track to double the level of renewable energy generation in the United States by the end of this year, which is an enormous accomplishment. And in fact, in 2008, the United States reclaimed the position as the world's leading investor in clean energy. So we know that there are ways that we can help to create the conditions by which clean energy can prosper and thrive and take root in the U.S. and create jobs. For example, we recently announced an agreement that we forged with the governors of Illinois, Michigan, Minnesota, New York, and Pennsylvania to examine and streamline efficient and responsible development of offshore wind in the Great Lakes. And unlocking that resource could yield enormous economic and environmental benefits throughout the region. There's enough potential in the Great Lakes to produce more than 700 gigawatts of energy from offshore wind, about 1/5 of the total offshore wind potential in the United States. And developing even a small portion of this potential could create tens of thousands of clean energy jobs, could generate revenues for local businesses, it could reduce pollution in our communities. And so we're working hard to reduce red tape, to find the regulatory processes that can get this industry up and running in a fully responsible way. As I said, we're working to reduce our dependence on foreign oil, and one of the ways that we can do that, obviously, is by using less of it. And perhaps the most important piece of that is the work that the administration has done in cooperation with a number of vital stakeholders to address fuel efficiency of cars and trucks. Everyone notices the price at the pump. Workers, farmers, truck drivers, small business owners, those who drive their families from errand to school to errand. And well, fuel expenditures climbed very sharply over the past 20 years. Fuel economy standards in the US stayed flat. And when President Obama took office in 2009, fuel economy standards for passenger cars were the same as they had been in 1985. Fuel economy standards for commercial trucks didn't exist. So last year, we worked with industry, we worked with our friends in the unions, we worked with states, we worked with our colleagues in the environmental community, we worked with consumer groups, and we were able to announce a framework and a proposal for historic new fuel economy standards. And when completed, these will be one of the President's signature environmental accomplishments. And these standards would double the fuel efficiency of cars and light trucks by 2025. They would save $1.7 trillion in fuel costs. They'd promote innovation. They'd eliminate about 6 billion metric tons of carbon pollution. Now, thinking about this in relatively simple terms, this means if you fill up your car every week, after the standards, you'd fill it up every other week with a new vehicle. And for owners of electric vehicles, which are a key part of this, alternative fuel vehicles, you might not have to visit the gas pump at all. And these proposed standards are estimated to save about $8,000 over the life of a typical vehicle. They were backed by 13 auto companies, representing more than 90% of US auto sales, and by the groups that I mentioned, and I really want to thank the BlueGreen Alliance for your work to help clarify issues as we develop those standards and continue to lend support. And these standards represented really an unprecedented level of engagement between federal agencies and stakeholders that the President really asked if they would do. Now, several of the features of these standards are really quite unique. One is their duration. They extend through the year 2025, which really is an acknowledgement of the importance of regulatory certainty and the scale of the investment that is necessary given the potential for new technology and the inflection point that we find ourselves in around that technology. Another is another feature is the flexibility that's inherent in them, designed to allow for manufacturers to be able to find ways to comply, but not to affect consumer choice and the variety of vehicles that are offered to consumers and their workability and durability. So these are important features, and the last that I'd mention is the focus on creating incentives for new technology and really the deployment of innovative technology across the fleet. And this kind of technology continues to hold the promise for American leaderships and American jobs. So we are working hard in the administration after hearings across the country and hearing from hundreds of thousands of people. And we are working hard to soon finalize really what will be the most significant accomplishment on reducing our importation of foreign oil and reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and continue to put the industry on a sound pathway forward. We also finalized the first of their kind fuel efficiency and greenhouse gas standards for heavy-duty trucks, and those will save businesses roughly $50 billion on fuel as they're implemented. And at the same time, we've pursued a suite of initiatives that are designed to complement the vehicle standards and help ensure that we develop advanced vehicle technologies here in the U.S. And that includes investments in advanced batteries, supporting something like 30 new advanced battery and electric vehicle component plants, moving from just having 2% of world advanced battery manufacturing capacity to 40% in the year 2015. And these are technologies that not only will be important for this transition to advanced vehicles in the United States, but will be the source of export as well. Now, in the federal government, we are an enormous consumer of goods and services. We have about a $500 billion a year bill for goods and services. And we have a vehicle fleet of some 600,000 vehicles. We have an enormous real estate portfolio, so that we recognize that what we do can both lead by example and help to inspire and create new markets. 2 years ago, the President signed an ambitious executive order on federal sustainability, and it directed federal agencies to reduce their energy use, their fuel use, their water use, and pare their greenhouse gas emissions. And we have doubled now the number of hybrid cars and trucks in the federal fleet, and last year the President signed a memorandum that directs agencies to purchase only 100% cleaner alternative fuel vehicles by 2015. So as we work to integrate sustainability into the federal government, as we have targets for our use of energy, this will be an enormously important part of the effort to create jobs. Now, we do this for buildings as well, and we've invested some $2 billion, are investing some $2 billion in energy performance service contracts to help make federal buildings more efficient. And we're working with the private sector in some great partnerships to help reduce energy costs for American businesses by some $40 billion and increase building efficiency by 20% in our Better Buildings initiative. So that's obviously, those savings are an example of the kind of money that could be put to far more productive use in hiring workers and inventing new products. Those partnerships between the CEOs of companies, mayors, university presidents, and the government are helping us to lead the way to efficiency. Last in December, the President, joined by former President Clinton and 60 CEOs and mayors, announced $4 billion in commitments around the country to retrofit office buildings, schools, city buildings, and commercial buildings. And we are working through energy performance service contracts to do the same across the federal government. You know, The Bureau of Labor Statistics recently released a report that found that more than 3 million U.S. jobs were linked to the production of green goods and services in 2010. Jobs in manufacturing, clean energy, construction, and more, and 80,000 of those jobs were from right here in Michigan. But we need more progress. We need more jobs, and we need to keep seeing growth in our economy. And President Obama has called for Congress to pass a clean energy standard, to create a market for innovation, to eliminate billions of dollars in subsidies for the oil industry, and we continue to move forward with these smart policies and with critical investments. Now, we know we can't do this without good ideas from partnerships and collaborations such as the Blue-Green Alliance, and we know we can't do it without your leadership and your support. And we've seen throughout our history how American ingenuity lights the way, and we are confident that we can do this again. We can make sure through these efforts that more products, more services, more good green jobs are made here in the U.S., and that we have this pathway for growth forward. So I want to thank you for what you do. Your support is absolutely vital to us, and we really do look forward to working with you towards a healthy and prosperous future for the United States. So thank you.
Thank you so much. So we gave you some song in the opening, and now we're gonna give you a movie. We like to do many kinds of experiences. There's popcorn in the back. No, not quite, but we're premiering a movie here today. As you know, the American auto industry has gone through some tough times, but it is coming back stronger than ever. And we are seeing factories come back online where production has been slow or stopped, thanks to the new fuel efficiency standards that were supported by business and unions alike. And we see consumers responding. People want to buy American cars, as they should. And in Ohio, we've seen this around the activity to manufacture the Chevy Cruze and its components. Because we always knew we would do better, and now we are. And we are premiering a movie today, which is a story of success. It's a story of the private and public sectors working together. It's a story of the workers who have pride in what they're doing, and a story of hope. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the story of the Chevy Cruze.
And after a very difficult time for the automotive sector in this country, after a period of painful restructuring, with the federal government lending a helping hand to two of the big three American automakers, we're seeing growth and a rise in sales led by vehicles using new, more fuel-efficient technologies, and that bodes well for the future. That tells us that these standards are going to be a win for consumers, for these companies, for our economy, for our security, and for our planet.
Say a few words about the Cruze.
Yeah, I think it's great that we got an American car that fills that slot in the market, and it's a high-quality car. We make the transmissions here, and I think it's a winner now, and it's going to continue to be a winner in the future.
The 6-speed transmission actually improves the fuel efficiency in making the Chevy Cruze the top fuel-efficient car that we make.
So we're thinking about the environment. It's more affordable for each individual paying for gas prices.
We absolutely have to become more fuel wise and fuel efficient and develop new energy systems. I believe that those answers will be unlocked here in the industrial Midwest, and we needed to do it yesterday.
Who would have thought that, short 3 years ago, when we were concerned about whether or not we would have a job, that we would be hiring people.
Our people here makes the difference in our facility. We'll be happy if you go out and buy Stritter Motors product, our beautiful car. Thank you very much.
Mr. Reagan.
Since the Chevy Cruze has come on and other vehicles, of that sort, our numbers there have grown. We have more employees working in there than we did let's say 2 years ago. You know, when everybody went down on the decline, we did lose some members there. But not only have we recalled all of those members in that facility, we've actually added to that number.
Our contribution to that is about 162 pounds that goes into the Chevy Cruze. It comes directly out of this plant, mostly in the form of coated product, but as well as hot band for wheels. ArcelorMittal itself, the United States, makes 980 pounds for the Chevy Cruze, so it's big.
General Motors Lordstown has been a cornerstone of the local economy here in the Mahoning Valley and in Trumbull County for over 40 years. And with the presence of the Chevy Cruze, it really has shown that GM Lordstown is here to stay.
The fuel mileage, though, is really where this car's been a huge hit. The Eco's with 42 miles per gallon, you know, it's not a hybrid, there's no battery, I mean, it just has a regular car battery. It's just gets that good of gas mileage from the engineering perspective. President Obama signed these CAFE standards to create these high fuel efficient vehicles. So we have a less dependency on foreign oil. At the same time, we're less greenhouse gases and emissions. So, and it's putting people to work.
People that build a car have pride in that product, and that pride just flows outward. And people, when they come into our plant, they see that.
I have one. I love it. I absolutely love it.
So right now we have about 30% of our greenhouse gas emissions coming from the transportation sector. Looking at if you're moving about double that efficiency, you're looking at cutting that number in half as well for every passenger mile you travel. So this is a huge help, not only economically, but it's a imperative to be dealing with the climate crisis as we move forward in the 21st century.
Because you're going from big behemoths down to cars that actually get 42 miles to the gallon, like our Cruze. And it did cause us some heartburn, but it was the right decision to make. I mean, going forward, you're not going to have those big gas guzzlers. You're not. You're going to have big cars, but they're going to be very fuel efficient. Very fuel efficient.
Good afternoon. My name is Sue Brown, and I am a regional program manager for the BlueGreen Alliance. I'm based here in Michigan. Thanks. Thank you. Before I get started in talking about the next panel, I just want to say that was a great Chevy Cruze video, and I'd like to give a shout out to my colleague, Tom Conway Jr. I don't know if you're in the room, but you did a great job of putting an excellent video together. So it's great to see so many familiar faces and also many new ones. I hope that you're all enjoying the conference and that you're also working to build new relationships. Up next, we have a panel discussion entitled A Clean Energy Jobs Plan for the 21st Century. This panel features leaders from Michigan who have been working very hard to make sure we're creating jobs that also protect the environment. We want family-supportive jobs and a clean environment. Leading this discussion will be Yvette Pena Lopes, the Senior Director for Policy and Legislative Affairs for the BlueGreen Alliance. You are going to hear from her and our distinguished panelists on the exciting campaign that the BlueGreen Alliance has been working on for the last year called Jobs 21. It's a real jobs plan for America that will build the kind of clean energy jobs that we are all fighting for. So please join me in welcoming Yvette Pena Lopes and this very exciting panel on clean energy jobs in a 21st century economy.
I just want to take a moment to recognize the great work that Sue and the rest of our field team and really all of our ledge policy team, our whole BGA team, what they do day in, day out to sort of build the Blue-Green Alliance and all of these relationships that are integral to everything that we do. So good afternoon, Motor City. It's so great to be here with all of you today. Very excited. You can feel the energy in Detroit with all of the revitalization that's going on and the vision and the excitement. And so congratulations to all you Michiganders out there. It's really remarkable. So as you stated, we have an exciting and important panel on the Clean Energy Jobs Plan for the 21st century. We're going to focus on how America can leap forward and create millions of good jobs that are also good for our environment. Gary Guzy mentioned that the United States, we're doing really well right now in the race for a good, strong, clean economy, but the rest of the world won't wait for us. So it's really up to us. It's really our make or break moment, as he said, to continue to be leaders on this and not fall behind, because we have seen this for many examples. Just the other day, actually, I was meeting with a reporter, and they said, well, could the solar panels and wind turbines be our next, Apple phone moment where everyth's made overseas? And I was like, hell no, we're going to make it all here for sure, and it's up to all of us to make sure it gets done. So, last year, BGA released a nationwide jobs plan, which Sue mentioned, called Jobs 21. We're very excited about it. It's a vision, it's a plan to strengthen our existing infrastructure, to move power and information, to produce a more sustainable food supply, and make our buildings, schools, hospitals, homes, offices, factories healthier and more energy efficient. It would revitalize American manufacturing because a core part of the plan is having a strong and efficient manufacturing and industrial plan. We need a plan, and we don't have one, we need one, and this is what this is about. Jobs 21 is also about improving job quality, because after all, we want sustainable and good union jobs that can support a family. Like Michael Brune said this morning, not all green jobs are good jobs, but it's up to us to make sure that they are. So now, actually, I'm going to walk over there, and I am going to introduce our very exciting panel, and I think you're really going to enjoy our dialogue and conversation today. Oh. That was supposed to be much quicker, sorry. All right, well, first at this end, we have Michael Bolton. Michael Bolton is a district director for United Steelworkers District 2. He began his career... Steelworkers are in the house. He began his career in 1976 in Marshalltown, Iowa, as a machine operator for Packaging Corporation of America. There he became active with United Paper Workers International Union. And in 2008, he was appointed the director of District 2 by USW's International Executive Board. He is a member of the AFL-CIO Midwest Region Affiliate Board and serves on both the Wisconsin and Michigan AFL-CIO Executive Board. So let's hear it from Michael Bolton. Next we have Mark Schauer. Mark Schauer is a former congressman from Michigan's 7th Congressional District and is a national co-chair of the Blue-Green Alliance's Jobs 21 initiative. Prior to serving in Congress, he served in both the Michigan House, where he was Assistant Democratic Leader, and in the Senate, where he served as Minority Leader. In addition, he has worked as a grassroots organizer and is a founding board member of Battle Creek Habitat for Humanity. Mark Schauer. And here on my left, we have Ann Wywady, who is the state director of the Sierra Club Michigan chapter. She has worked on a wide range of issues, including renewable energy, forestry, and urban sprawl. She recently was named a Green Leader by the Detroit Free Press for her work as a tenacious warrior on behalf of Michigan's natural resources. I love that. I think it's the best title in the world. So let's welcome Ann, our tenacious warrior. So welcome to all of you. And we'll begin with questions regarding the jobs crisis and its impact. And then we'll follow with a discussion on how to address it and find the solutions for it. So first, a question for each of you. Why do you think the economy crashed in the first place? How did we get into a situation where we lost 7 million jobs in a matter of months? And why do you think it's taking so long to recover? Michael, if I may start with you.
I would say it started from deregulation back in the 70s and some different national positions that were taken on taxes, that were taken on trade. You know, before the 70s, productivity and wages kind of grew along. But if you watch, productivity continued and wages were stagnant. And there was a president back in the 70s that had this trickle-down theory. So he says, we'll give everything to the rich and it'll all trickle down to the middle class and everybody's boats will rise, like President Kennedy said. And when I look back at that, I really think that trickle down is like going to a kid's birthday party where they have the piñata. You don't get any candy out of the piñata unless you beat the shit out of it with a stick. And trickle down didn't work.
Very good. Mark.
It's a tough act to follow.
Yeah.
I have to use that one. Well, I first want to say, and I live this, the public and voters can have memory problems. And I sort of told the public in my district when I ran, I'm from Battle Creek, Michigan, and had a big sprawling district that actually came not too far from here, but that there was sort of amnesia dust, and I sprinkled over our country. And because I remember I was going through a freshman orientation as a member of Congress, and this was December of 2008, and waking up, this happened to be at Harvard, so I'm in the hotel room and getting all ready, and in the morning jobs report came out. It's the first Friday of every month, and you know, our country lost over 700,000 jobs that month, and this would have been November. I think the November numbers came out. That's where we were. That's what was happening in our country, and to me, you know, our nation's economy was built on a bubble, right? And it was sort of the Bain Capital kind of mentality. It's profits on paper and credit default swaps and no sustainability or durability. And so what was not happening and what needs to happen is reflected in BlueGreen Alliance's Jobs 21 jobs plan is we need to make real investments that are durable. Things like investing in our infrastructure. I mean, we will create millions of jobs by rebuilding America and investing in transit systems and rail and so forth. We weren't investing in people in terms of training, in terms of education, and both government and corporations weren't investing in research and development. Develop the kinds of technologies that Gary Guzy talked about, in batteries and the Chevy Cruze, the Chevy Volt, the Ford E-Focus, all of these great products. So that's what happened, and so we have to learn lessons from that, and we're moving in the right direction, but you know, and with just a little bit of help that's happening. I'll talk about that more, but we've got a long way to go, and that's why all of us collectively are so critical to making this jobs plan a reality.
Right.
In Pinata, there's got to be a Pinata.
Well, I think the part of the question too is what's holding us, keeping us from getting back on track. We know how to get back on track. We started to do it a few years ago. We saw things like ARA, where there was an investment that said, in order to get our economy moving, we need to do several things. We need to be prepared to make the transition to the clean energy future that brings us forward. We need to be making sure the United States is competitive, that we are actually able to make things here, which is something we have to do. We need to be able to get carbon controlled. We need to recognize that it's having an effect, and we're seeing that now, that it's having an effect. But we got stalled. In some respects, I think there was an intentional murder attempt on the recovery. There are folks who didn't want us to succeed because they had a different agenda. And that's the agenda that we're fighting today. The agenda that says it's more important to have those profits than to have good jobs in this country, to have a clean environment. That's what we're fighting today, and we have to keep fighting it because we know how to fix this. And we need to make sure that the people who can do it are in office, are able to carry that agenda forward. And that's our job coming forward to make that happen.
So it sounds like we should all be pretty angry and fired up and ready to take action. What specifically makes each of you, I guess, extra angry about the way we're handling today's jobs crisis? If I can start with you, Director Bolton.
Well, I think it is that this country doesn't really believe they should have a manufacturing policy, and that manufacturing is important. You know, they're building a bridge made in China out in San Francisco now. Yet anybody that came from the West drove across the Super Bowl bridge that was built by steel workers in Wisconsin. All other countries have a manufacturing policy. Europe, China does. If you look at the junk car deal they had, cash for clunkers.
Right.
In France, they had a cash for clunkers, and you had to buy a car made in France. You didn't have to do that now. And it's about rebuilding our infrastructure. Our bridges are falling around. Drive around Detroit. There are some bridges around in here I'm afraid to drive under. Our roads are terrible. And so we need to be doing this with domestic steel, domestic American-made products. A lot like was said earlier. If we make it with steel here, it is cleaner steel. It's not as much of a carbon imprint. So that's what makes me mad is they want to turn us into a service sector, and if you don't have manufacturing, you aren't going to be able to buy the hamburgers that we're flipping anyway. So.
So I don't know if you remember, I'm old enough to remember the movie, I think it was Network. Was it Peter Finch who said, "I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore"? I guess that's a question for us going forward. Are we angry enough? Are we mad enough where we're not going to take it anymore? And what makes me angry, and you know, I had 2 years in Congress, and it was like it was like combat. It was like the most incredible experience. And you know, we were able to do some significant things. I fought like hell on Buy American provisions and actually voted against some legislation probably Yvette would have wanted me to vote for at that time, or at least would have been working on at that time, Energy Star and so forth, where we were actually going to, I had one of my staff go down to I think it was a Menards in Washington, and we were giving tax credits to folks for air conditioners was one example. And he went down to this big box store, probably where most people would be buying these air conditioners, and every single one of them was made in China. So I was trying to change that, so you're exactly right. But I'm angry because the mentality in Washington now, not by all, and we'll see some good friends tomorrow, is we're going to burn the house down. Mm-hmm. We're going to burn it down. And that's why we can't pass a real reauthorization of a surface transportation bill that will build in America trains, buses, transit vehicles, and so forth. Why they can't extend things like the production tax credit and the 1603 grant program, things that are creating jobs now. What angers me is that we could be so much further ahead. I mean, and there are some great success stories. And I just read a piece, Detroit is the second fastest city in the country in manufacturing job growth, 12.1%. But there are parts, and that's because of some things we were able to do. But how much further ahead could we be? And if we could get, if they didn't have the burn the house down mentality and were only concerned about politics. That's what we should be mad as hell about. You know, I lost my job doing what I thought was the right thing. And I have slept like a baby every night ever since. And you know, and that's what we should expect from our public servants, is do the right thing. And so that's what makes me angry, and that's why I'm so proud to work with all of you in a strategic way to hold people accountable and push for these policies that we know will put people to work and protect our environment.
Great.
Thank you, Mark. If we had more members of Congress like you, we would be
Yeah.
in a whole different situation. So thank you for your leadership.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of the problem right there. Somehow, there are folks who have taken control of the political discussion, and I put it at that level, at the rhetoric, that have convinced people that the way you succeed is you cut things, you cut budgets, you cut taxes, you know, you cut all over the place. These people don't have a vision. They basically have an outcome they want to get to. They want to get in charge. They want to be the ones running the agenda. And that's what concerns me and angers me. I try not to be angry because that distracts me. I got to funnel that into the right fight. But that's the thing that's happening. And they own the rhetoric right now. One of our problems is that when they lie, it's really hard for us to come back and, you know, we're polite. We also are right, but we need to be more outspoken about when they're wrong, which is often. In fact, it's virtually all the time these days. It's our job to do that.
So, Mark, you have battled the teabaggers. I mean, the Tea Party. You served in Congress. You have been traveling across Michigan as our co-chair of Jobs 21. Why is it that a comprehensive package like Jobs 21 is one of the ways that we can address the challenges that we're facing?
Well, Director Bolton hit it that, you know, we don't have a jobs plan. Now, BlueGreen Alliance has a jobs plan, and I'm very proud of that because, as you know, we've all been out in the trenches and playing a lot of defense. But it's nice to be able to talk about a jobs plan that really makes sense. And so that's why, you know, we need to continue to push the agenda of reauthorization of a transportation bill, a comprehensive transportation bill. Tens of thousands of jobs would be created in the Midwest alone by just basic rebuilding our roads and bridges and all of the things I've talked about earlier. We've talked a lot about the auto industry, and BlueGreen Alliance is about to release a report, I'm told probably June. And please go to bluegreenalliance.org and look at the incredible strategic materials that you can be using in policy materials. But just from the fuel efficiency standards alone that Gary Guzy talked about, projection would be about 500,000 net new jobs would be created. 500,000 jobs, about 60,000 manufacturing jobs. Just sort of drilling down from what's happened here locally, Chevy Cruze is a great vehicle for our Ohio brothers and sisters. The Volt is being made just down the road here. 2,500 jobs in Hamtramck, Michigan, new jobs, and it's projected it could be up to 40,000 jobs as a result of that vehicle alone. So, you know, our comprehensive jobs plan addresses, renewable energy efficiency. There are 9,000 jobs in Michigan related to energy efficiency. I mean, it works. It's common sense. And what my takeaway from my time and hit it is, you know, we are recovering in large part because of the tools that have been made available. You know, we've got too many of our brothers and sisters still sitting on the sidelines. Too many of our brothers and sisters. And so, you know, we have to fight back. And again, I think our country's learned a lesson from the last election when, you know, the Tea Party was saying, we're doing too much, we're spending too much, time out, we have to stop. Well, you know, the brakes have been applied by folks in Washington, and in spite of that, our economy is still creating jobs, but it's not fast enough, and that's exactly why our jobs plan collectively is what we have to push for. And you know, Yvette talked about each of the different areas, whether it's sustainable food, broadband technology, you know, communications, recycling, energy efficiency, greening, production processes, and manufacturing facilities. All of these are good for the environment, create good jobs, make us more energy independent, make us more globally competitive.
Thank you. Director Bolton, you're the district director for the steelworkers in Michigan and Wisconsin and a member of the union's National Executive Board. Many economists say that manufacturing jobs we have lost over the past 25 years are just the jobs of yesterday. They'll never come back. They say that all those manufacturing jobs are lost because of technological advances and globalization, and the game has just changed. What's your reaction to that?
Well, first let me tell you a little bit about the steelworkers, for those of you that don't know. A lot of times people come up to me and they say, you're a steelworker, oh, you're building that building over there. No, that's the iron workers. But the steelworkers are more than just making steel. We're in the paper industry, we're in the rubber industry. We're in the chemical industry. We're in the steel industry. We're in the aluminum industry. We're in the glass industry. We're in public sector. We have nurses. We have grave diggers. So we'll deliver your children and we'll bury your grandparents. But virtually, we're involved in any manufacturing, and really the single biggest problem we have is unfair trade. That's bottom line. We have worked with the Sahara Club on trade cases, and we've been successful in a lot of trade cases since we have this new administration. The problem is we have to lose a number of jobs, and we have to destroy a number of communities before we're successful in trade cases. So trade cases can be fixed, but manufacturing, you know, we've gained manufacturing jobs in the last couple months. We've gained jobs since the president took over. And if you look at the new green economy, I got some points here. One windmill takes 250 tons of steel, 3 tons of copper, 250 yards of concrete for the anchoring, takes titanium gears, gearboxes, bearings, and many other components. We either mine or make all that stuff. So I don't see any reason that manufacturing cannot be viable in this country again. We just need smart policies. We need the political will, and it'll happen again.
So Anne, our tenacious warrior, as state director for the Sierra Club in Michigan, a big part of your job is helping the club do the best possible job protecting the environment. Yet we hear from some quarters about how environmental regulations kill jobs. The conservative group Americans for Prosperity, for example, recently took out $6 million in media ads in 8 states, including Michigan, to attack the Obama administration's environmental policies. The ads are full of inaccuracies and exaggerations, not surprisingly. So Anne, what's going on here, and what exactly can we do about it?
Well, what's probably the main thing we can do is make sure that we pay attention to what we all get out of the environment. We've had conversations earlier today talking about asthma. We've had discussions about health issues. We've talked a lot about the quality of life in our communities. Environmental protection is about everybody. And what gets lost by those who are arguing, you know, Americans for Prosperity, is that they're creating a false war. There isn't a war between the environment and our economy and our future. That is all the same piece. What Leo Gerard said this morning was exactly on point, and everybody's echoed the same thing. We have to have both, or we have neither. Our communities depend on clean water, clean air. They depend on places that we can play and enjoy ourselves, that are healthy. We depend on having, rivers that we can go recreate in and that produce clean water for future generations. We need to carry that message forward. What's personal is totally public in this arena. If you've got a family member who's ever been sick with asthma or any kind of respiratory ailment that relates to air pollution, you have a stake in this game. And you need to make sure that other people understand that. So we have to make sure that that false choice isn't out there. It's not a choice between environment and the economy or jobs. It's a choice between a real future and going backwards. And that's what they want us to ignore. Our job, again, is to talk to our neighbors, talk to our families, talk to the school, talk to the church, make sure everybody understands that, because there's no other way for us to get the message out. And we're good at that. And that's what they're counting on. They're counting on us falling down on what we do best, which is talking to each other, making sure we're holding them accountable as well as holding our politicians accountable.
Can I jump into that?
Yes, please.
BlueGreen Alliance got dragged into this a little bit in this, this misinformation campaign. The Wall Street Journal took a shot at us for a Green Power program, a job training program that is training people in manufacturing and the skills of green manufacturing process. It was very successful. It was a Department of Labor grant, and these folks will, it's sort of like the Swift boat campaign. It is a campaign, okay? And we must fight back, and we must fight back in multiple ways. I mean, Ann said it, talk to each other, help people understand that this is trying to take our country in the wrong direction. They're basic things, letters to the editor, op-eds in newspapers, using social media. I do that myself and do messaging that way. And candidly, we're going to have to spend some money. And, individually and as organizations, we're going to have to counter that message because, they're very loud. They're going to put a lot of resources into this. And so we've got sort of grassroots campaign, including social media, but, we're going to have to fight back and help people understand. And because I think the public want to be with us. I think they're there. I think they see that the clean energy economy is the fastest growing sector of our economy. They need a little reassurance. And just like the name Americans for Prosperity, if you turn on, I'm trying to think what channel I was watching the other night, Tuesday night after the election, or maybe it was CNN, and you see all these groups that have, you'd think it's the BlueGreen Alliance from the names of the group. So you've got to be discerning and figure out what message are these folks really trying to send to us, and we got to make sure we are the messengers ourselves.
Exactly. And since you spoke about action on all of your chairs, and some of our organizers are carrying these around, please make sure you fill out this important card. That way you weigh in on the EPA regs and express your support for the NSPS rule, proposed rule that was recently released. So this question's for everyone. What are the current opportunities for labor and environmental movements to work together to create jobs and improve the environment here in Michigan? Ann, why don't we start with you?
Well, I think right now one of the most important things that we can do is join in getting the collective bargaining measure on the ballot and get it passed. Because we can learn from what we've seen in other states in this region. I'm very proud of the Sierra Club members who were in Wisconsin in the State House holding down the fort with the workers there, because this is all of our fight. And I think that's something that we need to be communicating too, that if we're going to have the future that we need, I mean, I'm a new grandma, okay? I suddenly have a whole extra burden And it really matters what we do. The future that we're going to leave those kids is really critical. So this is part of it. Good jobs and good environment. What more can we be doing but fighting together to make sure those both happen?
I would say don't let anyone divide us. And we are blue, we are green, we are community-based, we are faith-based, we are social justice folks. I mean, we have to, some of them applauding, did I hit your sector? Well, which one was it?
Social justice.
All right. See, I'm a community organizer, okay? That's where I come from. But, you know, we can't let folks divide us. And, you know, I look at it, you know, I wear a few different hats, and sometimes I'm out in the field with union tradesmen and women that are building wind farms. These are good union jobs. And these workers that have collective bargaining agreements that have provide them with good wages, good working conditions, safe working conditions, training, pensions. You know, we're working with folks in the manufacturing. We're working with companies to help them diversify into renewable energy, wind and solar and so forth. Energy efficiency is another incredible area where these are good family-supporting union jobs that are reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So let's look at ourselves as two sides of the same coin. And it's just like when we were founded by the United Steelworkers Union, Sierra Club, and their leaders said, you know, it's not jobs or the environment, it's both or neither. And that's what we have to help ourselves understand. And this is shared work. This is ultimately environmental justice, social justice, economic justice. If Dave Foster, our executive director, who is one of the greatest leaders I've ever worked with, and he had a death in his family, correct? So Dave is not able to be here. Dave had personal experience as a steel worker and in working with companies that Bain Capital had a hand with, and so could talk to you about that 1% experience. You know, we have to be a people's movement. Why not us lead this people's movement, which is ultimately about a durable, sustainable economy? You know, I may or may not look like it, but I'm a grandfather, I'm a grandparent too, and there's a lot of gray here. But, you know, I reject the notion that, that we will continue to consolidate wealth in the hands of fewer and fewer people. You know, we need a vibrant middle class. It's a labor movement that built the middle class. And nobody's happy to lose their job. And when I lost my job in Congress, I had to sort of take a step back. And having an opportunity to work with the Blue-Green Alliance in this way has provided me incredible hope and an opportunity to work with allies that get it, and thank you for getting it. That's the work of our generation that we're a part of right now. Thank you.
Well, I think one of the most important things we can do working together this year is we just happen to have a little presidential election in November. And it's really a stark differences. And our choices cannot be further apart. They can't be further apart, yet you read on the news that Ronald Reagan and Richard Nixon are considered liberals now. So, you know, we have a choice. This is, people say this all the time, this is the most important election of your lifetime. But every election is the most important election of your lifetime, because if you get it wrong, you end up where we're at. So we can do like what President Obama said very well in 2010. We can go forward by putting it in D, or we can go in reverse by putting it in R. And I think, you know, I think most of us, work for a living. And I like this a little better than President Obama's. a working person voting for a Republican is like a chicken voting for Colonel Sanders. It's just not in your best interest.
Agreed. This question's also...
Yvette, did you appreciate my restraint since I'm on BGA payroll of not weighing in on that one?
Yes, yes, thank you, Mark. Thank you very much. I'm just quietly nodding. So this question's for all of you. So what else do you think needs to be done to fix this gaping jobs hole that we have in our economy? I mean, should we be calling for a national program to weatherize and make efficient and modernize all of our public schools, all of our buildings? President Gerard earlier this morning mentioned, all of our courthouses, any federal government, state government building. I mean, let's put solar panels on them. Let's make them energy efficient. Should we be doing sort of that kind of Apollo-like think big and let's just do it all? Or is there something else? Just earlier this week, President Obama announced he's got a lot of plans and ideas, and unfortunately a Congress that's not acting on them. If they would, we'd be in a better position, I think. But he just announced his 5-point plan earlier this week, which included rewarding American jobs by eliminating tax incentives to ship jobs overseas. We actually have tax incentives for folks to move, which is outrageous. One of his other points is putting our veterans back to work. Absolutely. And absolutely. Another part of his 5-point plan is to create jobs in the clean energy sector, and he specifically spoke about the production tax credit and 48C for clean energy manufacturing. So all great ideas, also part of our Jobs 21 plan. What are some other big ideas? What should be the main focus? I mean, should it be big things, or should we continue with these little items? And
I think we have to do both. I think we have to create the ground so that people who have really good, exciting ideas have a chance to pursue them. And that's one of the exciting things that's starting to happen in Detroit and other areas where there has been a lot of heartache and a lot of economic despair. There's also an awful lot of that just heartfelt effort to get back on our feet and figure out how to make it work. We've got to create room for those people to succeed, in addition to making sure that our country sends a very strong message, and our state sends a strong message, which right now Michigan's on the wrong track with having pulled back targeted energy credits to support clean energy. I mean, the argument was that, well, we don't want to pick winners and losers. Oh, great, we'll just pick losers then. That's sort of the message that's coming from this, is that we don't have a vision of the future again. And we need to get back on track that it matters what choices we make. It matters how our tax dollars are spent. And whether it's from the green school stuff we were hearing about earlier today, which is really exciting, these are opportunities to engage. You bring health, you bring jobs, you bring an opportunity to educate, and you get kids educated at the same time. This is all really important. I think that's all of the above for me. That we recognize each of us has an opportunity wherever we can to invest in local jobs, in good jobs, in green jobs. That's our choice too. Every choice we make when we purchase something is that. But also that we simultaneously make sure we hold the folks in Lansing and Washington and every state capital responsible, that they make that serious investment in our future. And we have to have the big idea as well as the little idea going all the time.
The President proposed the American Jobs Act. We talked about that a lot, liked most everything in it, maybe would have wanted a little bit more here and there, but we really do need that kind of jobs plan. And what economists like Paul Krugman understand is that by making these kinds of investments, one side of the aisle looks at these things as just pure expenditures, and they have different priorities. Yvette talked about some of their tax policy, which, by the way, are expenditures, and that's what they're fighting to protect. But if I were to pick, I think the single best part of a jobs plan, the component that I would build around is the transportation reauthorization. It's supposed to be a 6-year bill. We were supposed to reauthorize it in October of 2009 during my first term in Congress, and here we are, multiple, how many? Nine extensions later. Nobody can plan an economy around, 3-month extension after 3-month extension, right? Certainly road builders can't, road planners can't, but the reason I think that is like a silver bullet is this transportation is not just about rebuilding roads and bridges, and we need a lot of raw material and all of the good labor that it takes for concrete and rebar and steel and all of that, but it is also things like tracks for high-speed rail. It's things like new trains to go 110 miles an hour like they're doing now in parts of Michigan. And I want to compliment President Obama and Secretary LaHood on his hard-ass, pardon me, Made in America provisions. I mean, real tough Made in America provisions. And, and buses and transit vehicles and so forth. So, BlueGreen Alliance did a report, a TMAP report. It was actually Apollo Alliance that we merged with last year. And the projection in the TMAP report, which is available on our website, is 3.7 million jobs. 3.7 million jobs would be created through that robust transportation bill, 600,000 manufacturing jobs. So I would start my jobs policy with that and build around to some of the other components like continuing to support the auto industry, the renewable energy sector, energy efficiency, and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Mark said everything I was going to say. But so let me tell you just a couple things, because we're about ready to wrap up, right? So does anybody know what Governor Walker and polar bears have in common? They're both endangered species, and we're trying like hell to save the polar bears. Well, let me finish with this. We need job creation. We need job security in this country, and this is more than what some people kind of like to put us at. They kind of like to put us in this. Well, the unions are asking the environmentalists to come help us on job issues, and then we'll help the environmentalists on air and water and ground issues. But it's really more than that. It's about all of us. You can't have manufacturing without the environment. It's either both or neither. So we're in this together, and I look forward to working with everybody as we go forward. So thank you.
Thank you. I was going to ask our panelists if there were any parting words. Those were the perfect parting words. Anything else before we conclude? Yep, absolutely. Let's get to work. Well, I hope that everyone has enjoyed our panel and you feel motivated and rejuvenated and ready to fight the fight. Because really that's the way we're going to be able to get this done is by joining our environmental partners and our labor partners and our social justice partners and all of us here to really build and have the kind of America that we all expect and want and need to leave behind for our children and our grandchildren and their children and so forth. So it really is about making the jobs here, making them cleaner, and not being afraid to invest in our people. So thank you and enjoy the rest of the conference. I think Margaretta's going to close it out. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So we are about done with our first day, and I think it's been an awesome day. Do you guys agree? Woo! And maybe you're ready to get up and stretch your legs a little. We put some yoga mats under each chair, so we figured we'd do something. No, we're not going to do that. We are going to take about an hour break and meet at 6 o'clock on the 3rd floor for the reception. There will be food. There's going to be an ice cream sundae bar. So if you didn't have a reason to come, we know you have a sweet tooth, right? So we hope you can join us for the reception. And also at the reception, many of you know each other in this room already. I'm going to challenge you to not stay with your friends tonight. There's no reason to come here to only talk to the people that you know. If you end up doing that, we have failed. So at least spend half an hour walking around and make an effort of saying, well, I don't know you, and I'm going to make an effort to make that happen tonight. So all kinds of stuff can come out of it. We have a couple that got married after a Good Job Green Jobs conference, so who knows? Anyways, tomorrow, 8:30, be here sharp. We have members of Congress who are coming back tonight to join us. We kick off with Congressman Hanson Clark, and we're going to be joined by Senator Stabenow and Congressman Dingell. The two of them will receive the Green Job Champion Award tomorrow. And UAW President Bob King will be here, and we're going to talk more about the revitalization of Detroit and of the auto industry. So please be here on time. And then tomorrow, 3 workshop sessions again. They start immediately after, and you can see that program here. So check it out and see what is of interest to you. And so with that, I want to thank you. It is amazing when people take time out. You guys are so busy, and sometimes we get so caught up because there's so much going on right now. So being able to take 2 days, and for you guys and the steelworkers, how long have you been doing this now? 2 days already, right? So almost taking a whole week out of these immediate battles that are hitting us every day, attacks and so forth, and be able to take a step back and come together like this and share our stories, share what's important, and hopefully be able to take that back so we don't just stay on doing what we're doing. We go on the offense and we find new ways of beating back and fighting back. So I really appreciate you guys doing this. We'll see you at 6 and again tomorrow at 8:30. Enjoy the reception.